Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Matters. Once again, this is Tuesdays, so we know today is Tuesdays with Theo. Theo, we're glad to have you on again, and we're going to just jump right in as we talk about this very important topic, this topic that you wanted to talk about. First off, Theo, of course, he's been on before, but he's the owner and clinical director of what? How did you draw a blank? No, forget it. New Hope Clinical Services, but he's also the author of a book, his first book, and then he has more coming out, Leverage to Win. Theo, welcome back to the broadcast. Talk to us a little bit about the benefits of writing.
Hey, David, man, thanks for having me again, man. You know, I always get excited and look forward to this time with our viewers, listeners. It means so much to me because it's an opportunity to really share some of the things that I think are really important, that I think will help people as they go through recovery, as they go through their mental health journey. Myself, I would say that I myself came through some traumatic experiences as a young child, as a young adult. And I really didn't recognize it or have to deal with it until I started writing. And I don't mean your regular writing like you do writing for school. I mean, I started off writing poetry. I really enjoyed just writing poetry, and just having an opportunity to express that really just felt good, you know, to put the words to paper. And then, of course, by the time I got to college, I started rapping, you know, taking advantage of the people that were around me, and I started rapping. And my very first album, as you would call it at that time, a mixtape. Don't laugh.
The Philosopher. Now go on.
Don't laugh, because what I didn't realize was that at that time, when I started writing, my first album was called My Thoughts. Literally, it was me taking my thoughts and putting it on paper, and it was such a therapeutic release for me. It was the first time that I felt like I could be heard and nobody could interrupt me.
Was that the one that I was on, or that was subsequent?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was that one. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the benefits of writing, Theo. Let's not talk.
So if we're gonna do that, David, I want you to do me a favor then. If we're gonna do the benefits of writing, could you please tell people what your rap name used to be?
Please, sir. Let's just go forward with this. This is not this kind of episode. If you start pulling out stuff, I'm gonna start pulling out stuff, and it's gonna turn completely different.
No, let's focus back in, guys.
Yes, there you go. The benefits of writing.
Very seriously. Let me show you how serious we are. Okay. I love to write. Okay. I have found writing so therapeutic. I cannot explain that anymore. A matter of fact, I'm not the only person that feels that way. Right? I've asked clients, I have asked other authors, I've asked people who write poetry to share with me. Give me anything, like, what is it for you when you do writing? Can we pull some of that up? Read this. This is another therapist who also wrote. You began writing it and turned into a phenomenal author and with a phenomenal book. And this is what this therapist said. Writing my book was therapeutic for me. It created a space where I owned my feelings and allowed myself to be vulnerable with them. It's an outlet for people, you know, when you start to do that, when you start to write it out, things start to become much clearer in your lives. That's why, if you think about it, in the therapeutic process, if you're working with a counselor, the first thing that they're going to do is an assessment. They're going to write down the things that, you know, that are going on with you. When they're doing a treatment plan, they're going to write out those goals that we talked about before. They're going to prepare those goals. Everything is going to be written out. Think about when you were a kid and you were in school and you wanted to really do well. The first thing everybody told you was, you better take excellent what? Notes. You have to write it down, because that writing process does something for us that no other way can really still do. And people miss out on that. Okay, yeah, here's another one. Writing helps me understand my feelings and express them in a way that wasn't harmful. Yeah. So I have a quote where I tell people all the time, tearing someone down will not lift you up, right? And so we tend to do that with our words. But you can see a sense of relief when you write it first. and you write it down and then you communicate afterwards. I've had people who have come in, they've yelled, they're cursed, they're so upset. I said, go ahead and write it down. Write down exactly how you feel. Don't hold back. Don't be shy about it. Write it down. Write it like you're writing a letter. Dear so and so forth, right? And you will see when you write it down and you start to communicate, it comes across less harmful and you're able to actually collaborate and make better, clear points with the other person you're speaking to. Last but not least, when I write, I escape and outgrow my boundaries. Oh man, it's just so phenomenal. For some people, writing is an escape. It allows you to express yourself in a way that other people sometimes cannot handle or don't even understand, but you get it. And it's something you can go back to, you can look over, and you can start to feel a sense of accomplishment within yourself. How I feel so far? I know. I'm speeding through this with this time limit you always put on me.
Well, I like to keep it short so people don't tune us out. But here, listen, right? What are some of the tips that you can show people or talk to people about? Say they don't write, say they need to get into it, they don't do any journaling, they don't do any self-note taking. What are some of the tips that you can share with them as to how they can get started?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so important that you get into writing. It's through our mess that we create our message. I love that. And the first time I heard that, it made so much sense. How can you get to a message? How can you help anybody else? How can you help yourself when you haven't even figured out what it is, the mess that you're going through in general? And you recognize in order to get to a message, you got to go through some mess. You got to go through it. So write it out. It's so helpful. It's so beneficial. You will feel so much more accomplished. The question is, what do? I write for everything. Let's say I have a conflict. Whether it's with my partner, whether it's with my wife, whatever it is, I tend to write it out so that when we communicate, they have a better understanding. I don't know what you're looking around for.
I was just wondering if you had a partner and a wife.
Partner, colleagues. I tend to write things out. If so, in my interpersonal relationships, no matter what it is, I think it's much better to write and express it through that. And then for myself, if I want to know what I'm doing, what my plans are, I always think it's important. So, but you got to start somewhere. If you're not a writer, you want to start somewhere because everyone can write. It doesn't matter what it looks like. If it's legible, it matters only to the writer, which is you. So the first thing I would do is start with a gratitude journal. Because you know me, I'm a very positive person. And I always tell you guys, negativity never needed your help. So we have to be positive. You want to see a change, you want to see yourself grow and develop, start to write and speak to yourself in a positive way. So start with a gratitude journal. What are some things you're thankful for, you're grateful for today, this week? Every single day you sit down, you should always start by being able to identify and acknowledge things that you're grateful for. And as you build that up, you'll start to see that you're noticing things more positive than you are negative as you grow and you start to write. And you'll still be a great way to express. Now, if you're going to start writing how you feel, you have to express yourself honestly. You have to be very open and honest with yourself. It is no point in writing if you're not going to be open and honest with yourself, unless you plan to write a book of fiction.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, I think that's very important, Theo, what you just mentioned about honesty. If you're going to use this as a therapeutic process, you have to at least be honest and open with yourself.
Absolutely.
Take some time for some vulnerability. Call it a journal, call it a diary, call it some self-reflection notes, whatever it is you need to call it. If you need to sort of access that internal coping mechanism, utilize writing as a tool. And Theo, any other parting words as it relates to writing that you want to share?
The last parting words, and I'm glad you mentioned that, is that if you're not with a therapist, if you're not able to get with someone, because it's not free, we recognize that. Therapists have to get paid. And you have to get paid, especially right now during COVID-19. So if you're not able to, this is a short, easy step that you can do on your own, right? Where you can write out how you feel about things and identify how you felt when you started. So for example, let's say you're angry with someone and you really want to express yourself. You should identify, look, this is how angry I am on a scale of 1 to 10. Identify how angry you are and then start to write. Express yourself fully, get it all out there, and then do another temperature check. How do I feel now after I've written? If those numbers are the same, you probably should get a therapist ASAP. But if those numbers have shifted, right, and you're starting to feel less angry, less anxious, less overwhelmed, then you know that this process is working for you, all right? So that's what I would say. You can use this on your own. You don't need to have a therapist right now, but start by expressing. I want to talk to somebody. How do I do that? Write it down. I'm pissed off at my wife. I'm pissed off at my husband. Write it down. see how you feel afterwards.
Hey, listen, Dalton, it's very good to have you on again. I think we have one more Tuesday of the month, so we'll have another Tuesdays with
Yeah.
Theo
Yeah.
next week. Listen, if you are at home, if you are watching and you need some assistance, please don't suffer in silence alone. If you need help, make sure you go out and get the help that you need. We want to thank you for watching another episode of Mental Health Matters, and then join us again tomorrow, same place, same station, as we talk about more resources that we can utilize to help destigmatize mental illness. Have a wonderful day.